How you get like that? How the whole team go flex like? How the whole phone take a jet like? How the thing go flex like? How you get like that? How the whole team go flex like that? How you fly a jet like that? How you be on the road when the feds like that? And the feds go hard, so we gotta hit the gas when we see them cars. Now we can't go back, won't see them bars. Locked in the gym, now we them stars. Now we locked.
Hey yo, what up, squad? Welcome back to HOODROK Entertainment, realest, dopest, most active reaction channel on YouTube. Bro, we're touching down with our Scandinavians, but we got the Vikings, Viking Raids, what it was like to be on the front line. So yo, this is gonna be dope. We all know who the Vikings are, you know what I mean? So I come prepared, bro. I come prepared. I got my dinner here, so some pizza here. We got the drink, yo. We got the after dinnerman. You know what I mean? We get that after dinnerman. Already pre-rolled. Ready to go. So we're gonna get into this, bro. Alright, so there's another one I'm supposed to be bringing after this as well, bro. So we'll see how far along we're into our shit. If we've got more of the joint left and shit, we'll do that. We'll tap into the next video. It's another Viking video. Alright, so shout out to all my Scandinavians out there, bro. You know what I'm mad love from HOODROK. Run the numbers up on this. Let's get into this, bro. Yo, and shout out the homie that sent this too, bro, over on Instagram. Yo, I don't know how to say your name too, bro. It's in a writing that I couldn't read. But yo, shout out for this one, bro. Mad love. I can't wait to, you know, bro. I come from a warlike tribal people too, so going to get into this shit.
Vikings did whatever the hell they wanted. They were stealth and ruthless seafaring Norsemen and women who disregarded conventional battlefield tactics, methods, and customs of the time. These attributes weren't seen as cowardly acts of warfare. They were regarded as smart tactics in a successful pillaging. Today, we're exploring what it was really like on a Viking raid. Make sure after watching you subscribe to our channel, Weird History. Leave a comment and let us know what you think about this video.
What did it say? I'm gonna bring my thing down here, alright? Viking Raids lift their defenseless enemies in shambles. I bet they did. Like surprise attacks and shit, right?
Let's understand why these Norsemen turned to raiding and pillaging. It wasn't because they loved violence and it was something to pass the time. Viking raids were a matter of survival. It wasn't always like that, though. Early in the Viking Age, between the 8th and 9th century, Vikings fought for honor. They were made up of small tribes that didn't adhere to law, authority, or religion, and violence was used as a way to settle disputes with other tribes. Eventually, defending the tribe's honor and appealing to their gods of war became secondary. Vikings soon began to go on raids to acquire wealth and material goods. They often targeted Christian monasteries in Britain. Why? Because these monasteries were easy prey for the Vikings. The defenseless monks who inhabited them were sitting friar ducks. A tribe of Vikings as small as 30 warriors could take down a monastery without breaking a sweat. As a matter of fact, the beginning of the Viking Age is normally regarded as June 8, 793 AD, when the first documented Viking attack took place at a monastery on the island of Lindisfarne in northern England. Alcuin, a scholar in Charlemagne's court at the time, wrote of that particular raid,
"Never before has such terror appeared in Britain as we now have suffered from a pagan race. The heathens poured out the blood of the saints around the altar and trampled on the bodies of saints in the temple of God like dung in the streets."
To the Vikings, a monastery.
Bars.
In the temple of God like dung in the streets.
But to the Vikings, a monastery was too good to pass.
Like shit in the streets. Bars, bro.
They were filled to the rafters with treasures like gold, silver, jewels, and books. Monasteries were also a valuable source for food, drink, cattle, clothes, and tools. A Viking pillaging a Christian monastery was like raiding a Bed Bath & Beyond, except without all the patchouli fragrance.
I never thought about that.
Viking raids were aimed at churches and monasteries.
Because I was thinking, what the hell are you going to get from a church? But yeah, because I forgot. They lived at churches back then. You know what I mean?
Monasteries was regarded as particularly horrifying at the time. No one was safe from the Vikings, not even men of God.
They're like monasteries. They're more like monasteries rather than just churches, right? Most battles started with
Vikings weren't.
My bad. Spears and arrows.
When Vikings weren't raiding monasteries, they were battling the armies of various countries and sometimes other Vikings. These fights weren't as simple as punking some monks, though. These battles required strategy. Vikings relied on the element of surprise.
Like I said, they're punking some monks.
Vikings were well known for ambushing their targets by hiding in the woods and lying
Well,
in wait
not
for their
punking
opponents
some monks,
as
but
they
punking.
walked along established roads. Of course, every now and then, Vikings would adhere to traditional rules of warfare. For example, if a tribe of Vikings was confronted on land by an opponent of equal size and strength, they'd begin their battle by forming a shield wall. It worked like this. Before one spear was thrown, warriors from each tribe would face off with each other in a wedge-like formation. This was a shield wall. Depending on the size of the army, a shield could be made up of 5 to 6 rows of warriors holding round, handheld wooden shields. The bulk of the wedge formation was usually made up of heavily armed men with berserkers at the very front of the wedge. Yes, berserkers. More on that in a minute. Archers and the other veterans.
That's who I'm doing the next video on. The next video is on the berserkers. Viking
The
berserkers.
tribe would then line up behind the wedge, and bodyguards called
Fine.
herds would surround their leaders and chiefs at the back. The ground battle would
I
finally
was wondering
begin
what
when
it
a
was.
warrior threw a spear over their enemy's lines. Waves of spears followed, with armor-piercing arrows fired off by archers close behind. Often, the opening salvo determined the fight. Eventually, one of the tribes would stagger and reel away from the spears and arrows that rained down upon them. Of course, if both tribes remained standing after the initial downpour of spears,
Time
the
for
warriors
fight.
of each side pushed forward to wage close-quarter hand-to-hand combat with their enemies. Okay, berserkers. They
What are
deserve
they?
some special acknowledgement. We all
Hell,
know
yes.
that Vikings were insane warriors, but they were nothing compared to berserkers, a special group of elite Vikings who were so badass they didn't even wear armor or helmets. They wore loincloths, and the only weapon they used was a light shield. Berserkers were skilled warriors for sure, but the thing that made them so dangerous was that they had no fear. Before battle, they would work themselves up into a crazed, trance-like state called berserking, and then fight with blind fury.
Is that where the
While in
word
this frenzied
going
state
berserk
during
comes
raids,
from?
Berserkers lost all human capacity for reason or
Wow.
awareness, and were known to scream and howl like wolves or mad dogs. You now
Wow.
know where Wolverine's berserker mode was inspired from. If you believe the lore,
Holy shit, I didn't know that. Holy shit, the Vikings are badass, bro. Y'all Scandinavians, man.
for reason or awareness, and were known to scream and howl like wolves or mad dogs. You now know where Wolverine's berserker mode was inspired from.
Wow.
If you believe the lore, these berserkers were said to have spiritual magical powers from the god of war, Odin. It's also hypothesized that berserkers would prep for battle by drinking gallons of alcohol and consuming magic mushrooms. Although most people on this concoction would just start playing guitar by a campfire.
Those that have tapped in on my live streams before, you know how much I love my magic mushrooms. Packed into the 40s. Well, I used to. I don't drink no more. I used to do that as a teenager. I live in New Zealand. Magic mushrooms grow everywhere. The parks, your front lawn, back lawn, in your yard, you know what I mean?
Some botanists have claimed that berserker behavior could have been caused by eating a plant called bog myrtle, one of the main spices in Scandinavian beer. In land raids, tribes would position their berserkers at the front of the wedge. The boar's snout would then rush their enemies' battle lines and take their formation apart in hand-to-hand combat. At this point, the raid would turn into a straight-up Donnybrook, and the tribe that won usually had the strongest assembly of berserkers.
So pretty much, everyone else is there just a line. It's basically formalities, right? Okay, throw the spear, bro. Throws the spear. Shoot the arrows, shoot the arrows. Yep, time for all of us to get fucked up. Now here's the berserkers. Here they come. Now we're going to see who wins the fight. Now the real fight begins.
Vikings love their weapons as much as a dog loves going for a ride. A typical
Bro, it's crazy how much alike our people are, bro. Like in the fact that our weapons are the same. Our weapons are blessed. No one else is allowed to use each other's. You're not allowed to use mine. I'm not allowed to use yours. I'm not even allowed to touch yours. You're not allowed to touch my weapons neither. You know what I mean? They've been blessed by. So all all of my bloodline before me, all the warriors in my bloodline before me who have passed away, their spirits are all in this weapon of mine that I carry to war. And so on and so on. They're usually heirlooms.
Typical raids saw Vikings use axes, swords, bows, and arrows, and daggers, but their go-to weapon of choice was the spear. Inexpensive and easy to make, spears also had reach, which was pretty helpful when a raid devolved into hand-to-hand combat. With a tip made of iron measuring anywhere from 8 to 24 inches, and the wooden shaft usually made of straight-grain ash, a Viking spear was used mostly for throwing, but an adept warrior could use theirs for carving, chiseling, and chopping as well. It's like the Viking version of a Swiss Army knife. There's little evidence that tells us the length of a shaft from the Viking Age, but Chapter 6 of Gila's saga tells of a spear so long a man's outstretched arm could barely touch the rivet. Of course, most historians estimate that the combined length of a wooden shaft and iron head of a Viking-era spear was between 7 and 10 feet long.
Damn!
Swords
A 10-foot-long spear, bro. God damn!
were pretty rare in the Viking Age. They were expensive, difficult to make, and very few Vikings owned a good one. That meant that swords were the mark of an elite warrior and treated as heirlooms passed down from bearded father to son for generations. You could determine the quality of a sword by the elaborately decorated hilts or by the bladesmith's name that was imprinted near the base of the blade, just like a brand name imprinted on anything you buy today. Different styles with varying looks were even given nicknames by
Damn, that's
like
fire.
Fighter and different styles with
Yo, look at that. Look at that, yo. Shit. Yo, you see, that's the thing. If I lived back in those days, right, and I was if I lived back in those days, bro, some nigga pulled that out on me, bro. Shing. And I look at the hilt and shit, I'd be like, oh, nah, nigga, nah, we good, bro. Like, come on, bro, you're fine, nigga. Like, cause you can tell, bro, a handle and a hilt like that, bro. Whoever owned that must have known his shit. You know what I mean? Like, that ain't no blade that just the average Viking walked around with. Well, I wouldn't know. I'm just saying.
Even given nicknames by Vikings like Leg Fighter and Gold Hilt. Not sure if Heart Eater or Oathkeeper ever made it to real life.
God damn these.
Gold Hilt. Not sure if Heart Eater or Oathkeeper.
Holy shit! Look at this bad boy one right here. The ivory hilt, the ivory handle and shit. God damn.
Most Vikings preferred double-edged swords, ranging in length from 24 to 36 inches long and 1.5 to 2.5 inches in width. For older Vikings, a 40-inch sword wasn't uncommon, and they were relatively light. They weighed anywhere between 2 to 4 pounds, depending on length. Of course, Hollywood likes to portray Vikings slashing their victims while holding their swords with a two-fisted stranglehold, but that's not how it went down. If you look at the grip of a sword from the Viking Age, you'll see that it was made for one hand. There was no need for an extended grip on a Viking sword because it would throw off the weight of the weapon, plus their other hand was busy holding a shield anyway.
Facts.
While these swords were usually passed from father to son as heirlooms, there is evidence that some Vikings were buried with them. In these cases, the Viking sword was ritualistically killed, which means its blade was bent so that it was unusable. This served two purposes.
Wow.
It acted as a way to retire the sword with its owner, and it deterred grave robbers from stealing the weapon.
Wow. They bent the shit. That's clever, bro. That's clever, bro. Yo, that's cool.
When it came to a Viking raid, a warrior had two means of defense, his cunning and his shield. Even though they were made of wood, usually fir, alder, spruce, or poplar, like Mickey Ward, a Viking shield could take quite a beating in battle. A few shields have survived. Like Mickey Ward,
like Mickey Ward,
a Viking shield could take quite a beating in battle. A few shields have survived from the Viking Age, and they vary in size from 32 to 36 inches in diameter. It was also noted that a shield was often custom-made for a warrior. It was sized to fit the dimensions of his body and his fighting style. A shield needed to be big enough to provide protection, but not too big that it threw off the balance of the warrior. Too small would expose additional lines of attack that an opponent could exploit. Too large would slow the defensive response and exhaust the warrior unnecessarily.
Okay.
There's been great debate about the role of shield maidens in Viking culture, namely whether these powerful women even existed in the first place. Scandinavian folklore and mythology have always been there with tales of bravery and cunning battle prowess. But archaeologists from Uppsala University and Stockholm University have found new DNA evidence that shows female warriors have roots in actual historical events.
Stockholm University? Is it the Stockholm in Sweden? Oh, fire. Shout out Stockholm.
Technology recently caught up with the excavation of one of the most
Shout
well-known
out
graves
Rinkeby.
from the Viking Age, a mid-10th century grave in a Swedish Viking town named Birka. The tomb was excavated in the 1880s, revealing the remains of a female warrior surrounded by an axe, a bow and arrow, a sword, armor-piercing arrows, and 2 horses.
She gangster.
But like we said, the folklore and mythology have
gangster.
always been there.
Hold up, what? She gangster as fuck. How the fuck, what the fuck? You got buried with your horses and all your shit. You gangster.
Female warrior surrounded by an axe, a bow and arrow, a sword, armor-piercing arrows, and 2 horses. But like we said, the folklore and mythology have always been there. According to the Greenland saga, when Leif Eriksson's pregnant half-sister, Freydis Erik's daughter, was in Vinland, it was written that she grabbed a sword and bare-breasted scared away the attacking Skraelings. In another instance, Viking leader Lagertha commanded a band of 120 ships of warriors. When her ex-husband Ragnar Lothbrok faced near certain defeat in a fight, Lagertha sailed to his rescue, launching a surprise attack on the enemy from behind, reportedly causing Ragnar's opponents to panic. Shield maidens also reportedly fought while disguised in men's clothes. Thus, they were sometimes indistinguishable from male warriors. Yep, shield maidens existed, and they were as badass as their male counterparts.
Oh, that's gangster. Yo, that's gangster. I love that. Because, bro, if you go watch the moldy videos about my people, our woman fought as well, bro. Right? And what the British did when they came here was that they couldn't tell the difference between fighting a woman moldy warrior and a male moldy warrior. This is cool, bro. I fuck with this, bro. I fuck with the Scandinavians, bro. Y'all like our cousins or some shit. Y'all like our cousins from the north.
Existed, and they were as badass as their male counterparts.
Gang. The elite high guard of the
herd was made
chief.
up of elite bodyguards with the sole purpose of protecting the Viking chief.
We never had nothing like this, though. That's one thing I give the Vikings, bro. We never had like an elite warrior group. You know what I mean? Because everyone's trained. We were like the Spartans. You know, all of us were trained as warriors from children. We were taken from our mothers, and you know what I mean?
At the back of the wedge during battle.
That's cool, bro.
A wealthy and skilled
like
chief
that.
might have as many as 60 herdmen
Got
protecting
like
them
the
on the
elite
battlefield.
warriors, you know what I
These
mean?
herdmen were smart, always armed warriors, and they guaranteed their
They call
leaders'
them
safety.
like the Royal Guard or some shit.
In the Vikings' pecking order, you could think of them as the Navy SEALs. Of course, a
Yeah,
herdman's
dig
job
it.
wasn't only reserved
Dig
for
it.
battles and raids. Due to the fact that an influential Viking chief had enemies lurking everywhere, a herdman was on the clock 24/7. And while a herdman put his life on the line every day, he was rewarded greatly for his services and lived a privileged life that young Vikings envied. A member of a herd was as close to being a celebrity as a Viking could become without actually being royalty.
Oh, I see. I see.
You never knew what you were going to get in a Viking raid. Sometimes a
So it's like being a knight. You know, it's like being a knight. You know, you're being knighted. You're not a royal, but you're pretty much as close as can be. You know, being a knight over in England and shit back in the days were like, you were like big celebrities, and you know, every knight had a distinguishable mask with a distinguishable helmet with a distinguishable, you know, the house design on the shield. Fire, bro.
tribe's attack was nothing more than a smash-and-grab affair with the sole intent of grabbing some loot and food and returning to their own village. In cases like these, a raiding party could consist of anywhere between 35 and 300 Vikings. But a full-scale battle was different. Full-scale battles meant entire Viking armies showed up against each other. Bigger Viking armies could contain between 4,000 and 7,000 men, and as the Viking Age wore on, the armies only grew in size.
Damn.
In the early 850s, attacks on the English cities of Canterbury and London reportedly involved 350
I live in Canterbury, New Zealand. It's named after Canterbury, London. Funny.
Viking ships. If we're to believe these figures, this Viking army may have been at least 10,000 strong. Oh man, imagine drinking your morning tea and seeing 10,000 Vikings heading your way.
Now I'm out. Skirt. I'm gone.
You've seen the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay.
You've seen the Minnesota
Okay.
Vikings helmet. The 1993 Nintendo classic, The Lost Vikings, Hagar the Horrible comic strip, and the Bugs Bunny cartoon called What's Opera, Doc? With Elmer Fudd and his magic helmet. Despite all these iconic cultural influences, a real Viking helmet never had horns. In reality, a Viking...
I understand what he's saying, but personally myself, I never really envisioned a Viking helmet with horns. To be honest. You know what I mean? I always envisioned this helmet that he's showing right there. But maybe that's because I was reading the right books, you know what I mean? I wasn't reading them goofy
The
little
helmet was a simple,
cartoon
practical
books when I was
piece
a
of
kid.
equipment. It was made of iron, and many historians believe that due to cost, only the elite warriors owned them. Most Vikings
Oh,
fought
leather
without
ones and
headgear. In fact,
Was it leather ones and shit?
there have
It
only
might
been
be something
5
else.
Viking helmets recovered, most of which are just fragments and deteriorated
Oh,
pieces
shit.
of iron. The only
I'm probably
full
wrong.
Viking helmet is called the Geirmenbu helmet, which now is on display at the Museum of Cultural History of the University of Oslo. So
that's
how
fine.
did the horned Viking helmet myth begin? You can pin that on costume designer Carl Emil Doppler. When composer Richard Wagner staged his Der Rings der Nibelungen opera cycle in the 1870s, he turned to Doppler for the production's costumes. Doppler created horned helmets for the Viking characters, and a Nordic stereotype was born. While Vikings owned horses, you'd rarely see one at a raid or battle. The problem with horses was that they were difficult to transport in ships when Vikings sailed off for a raid. Strangely enough, a good number of horses that were acquired by Vikings were taken either by looting them or by
I was
stealing
about
them
to say, they probably come from the raids. You know what I mean?
from their defeated enemies, as we know from the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. Most Viking horses were used for farming purposes. The Vikings are
shit.
even thought to have introduced plowing with horses to the British Isles. The Vikings
wow.
adopted horses for plowing because they were quicker and more
Yo,
agile
word.
than the more commonly
How come the British steal our shit? I'm feeling your niggas. I'm feeling your niggas. They stole the trench warfare off us. You know what I mean? Like, they always steal our shit, right? The British.
used oxen. It's theorized that the Vikings could plow and plant their fields quickly with their horses and then go off raiding for the summer
Smart
or
niggas.
returning home in time for harvest. There is record of at least one
It's dope as fuck. I'm sorry I keep pausing it. That's dope as fuck. Hey, yo, we're gonna go out, plant our crops, right? We're gonna go plant our potatoes, we're gonna go plant our wheat, we're gonna plant our corn, we're gonna plant all this shit. And then hopefully we're done by 5 so we can head off, fuck a few of the ops up, you know, raid a few, pillage a few towns, and we should be back for harvest. It's fire.
one battle where Vikings used horses, but the results weren't so great. During the Battle of
It's fire,
Saltwaite in
bro.
Ireland in
That's
968, the
gangster.
Vikings of Limerick, led by Ivar of Limerick, deployed a cavalry of warriors on horseback. These Vikings were lured into an ambush by the Irish and lost both the battle and the town of Limerick. Even though Viking raids were bloody and brutal, warriors still found the opportunity to swipe right. Proof of this happened in the 9th century when Ragnar Lothbrok led an attack to avenge the death of his grandfather at the hand of a rival king. According to passages in the 9th book of the Gesta Danorum, a 12th century work of Danish history by the Christian historian Saxo Grammaticus, King Fro killed Ragnar's grandfather Suvor
Damn, I've
and forced
hotboxed
the
the
dead
fuck
king's
out of
surviving
this.
female family
I'll box the fuck out of this one. Oh, shit.
Fro killed Ragnar's grandfather, Sigurd, and forced the dead king's surviving female family members into a brothel as a form of public humiliation. When he heard about this, Ragnar came with an army of
pimp ass nigga, you pimp. This nigga the pimp. You one of the first pimps.
Public humiliation. When he heard about this, Ragnar came with an army of warriors to avenge his grandfather. Many of the women Fro had ordered into the brothel dressed themselves into men's clothes and fought on Ragnar's side. One of those women was Lagerta, a shield maiden whose fierce fighting had attracted Ragnar's attention. After the battle, Ragnar pursued Lagerta and proposed to her. Lagerta feigned interest, and Ragnar arrived to seek her hand. However, Lagerta released a bear and a hound to attack Ragnar, which, according to Saxo, he had to kill before he could marry her. Who said romance was dead? Ragnar killed the bear with a spear and choked the hound to death, thus winning the hand of Lagerta. The couple had a son, Ridley, as well as 2 daughters, but eventually Ragnar divorced Lagerta because he apparently still harbored bitterness about the whole bear and hound attack. Totally understandable, right?
Yeah,
let us know what you think. Would you want to be on a Viking raid? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And while you're at it, check out some of these other stories.
Yo, that was dope. I'm gonna have to check out these other ones. What Viking diets we really like, what Viking hygiene was like. Oh, bro, that's gonna be a stupid video, what Viking hygiene was like. Bro, what everyone's hygiene like was back in those days was fucking horrendous. Anyway, that was dope, bro. That was fire, because I know next to nothing about the Vikings, bro, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? I do know that we're similar in some ways. Damn, I'm high, bro. That's some good motherfucking weed. Damn. Oh, bro, even with the bad clothes. Anyway. Click up, squad up, tapping, bro. Shout out all my Scandinavians. Y'all niggas know what's up, bro. Mad love from HOODROK. Bro, keep sending them bangers like this, bro. Send them to me on Instagram. Don't forget, follow me before you message me, or just drop them in the comment section. Follow the Facebook page. Follow the Facebook page. Send a friend request, right? Because there's a lot of content that's been getting blocked on YouTube that I've been putting up, bro, and it's going up on Facebook. So make sure that you do that, alright? Alright, hit that notification bell, bro. Stay safe, stay dangerous. We out. Peace.